Hannah, welcome to the Schiller and Hamilton Podcast. And I think I can still say welcome to Rock Hill. You're still, I hate to say relatively new, but kind of relatively new to Rock Hill. And you, of course, have taken over the new position as the executive officer in charge of the Gravity Center in Rock Hill. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
First try. Okay, nailed it. All right, well, welcome to Rock Hill. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank
you. You have a very, it's a fascinating charge and task ahead of you. And I'm just excited to kind of hear all about it. So can you please tell us about, first of all, what is the Gravity Center?
The Gravity Center is the hub for entrepreneurship in York County, specifically Rock Hill. We aim to be a one-stop shop for entrepreneurs and for small businesses looking to start or scale their business. That's plainly said.
That is very plainly said. Very succinct. Just sounds like you've said that before.
That's the elevator pitch. We teach our ventures how to tell what it is that you do, what product or service that you deliver, and do it succinctly. And so, therefore, I have to do that as well.
There you go. That's very impressive.
Okay.
So, what does that mean? So, an entrepreneur, one-stop shop. What type of services, like say, if someone's starting a new business, is this, hey, I'm going to start a new barbershop? Is this, hey, I'm going to create an app that's going to change the world? Everything in between. What type of businesses would the Gravity Center service, and in what way does it provide these services?
All those, everything you just said. Yeah. So think crawl, walk, run. Okay. So a lot of ideas for business, what we call ideation phase. That idea that you have for a business that you've always wanted to start. You want to take your grandmother's pizza recipe and start a restaurant, or you have an idea for an app, or you have more than likely most successful entrepreneurship ventures start from what's called a pain point. So you have been in your industry, you have been in some form or fashion of a walk of life. You're a mom, you're a dad, you're a lawyer, you've been somewhere in some form or fashion where you have experienced a pain point where something needs to be invented, or there's a product or service that could help this. Okay. So you think about the Swiffer wet jet, like somebody invented that, Spanx or the pool noodle. These products came to be because someone thought of them from a pain point that you could develop or invent something. So in ideation phase, we can actually take that idea for either a small business, something that you want to stay as a pillar of the community, keep it for 25, 30 years, pass it down to your children. You have no intention at all of selling out of this business and having 14 partners. It's just going to be, this is going to be your life. This is going to be your work, your business. Therein lies the difference between a small business and an entrepreneur. That an entrepreneur perhaps is something or someone venture that would want to needs a lot of initial investment, perhaps need tech. We often kind of put that into the entrepreneurial, but anything that is probably going to start and scale really fast, and it may have some venture capital attached to it. There's an end game to it. You may want to get in, get out, maybe sell your IP along the way, and then move on. So making that distinction is very important, because we really do believe here in Rock Hill that one day and one day soon, we're going to have the gazelle, we're going to have the unicorn, we're going to have that tech company, that idea, that young person from Charlotte or that grew up here in Rock Hill that has an idea for an app or for some type of technological advance, and they're going to take it and run. The next Bitcoin is going to come out of Rock Hill, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hope it does a little better, but the better iteration. But again, taking it either from idea, or perhaps you have a business right now and you want to level up. You want to open a second location. You need to learn how to expand capacity. You want to really understand your financials. You need collaboration with other entrepreneurs, other small business owners. It's a lonely world. There's no one to really talk to about what it is that's bothering you. So, with all due respect to, the many wonderful networking events that can put you, in community with other folks that, to say, my kids go to school here or I play golf, but that's one side of a conversation that small businesses, owners and entrepreneurs may have. But on the other side, it's, how do I do this? What's the next step for me? How would I sell this? Who should I talk to for HR or an attorney or a labor issue, or who does your taxes? And these are community, what we love to call, collisions within the Gravity Center that kind of helps them connect.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a big part of this job, like you said, is connecting entrepreneurs with services, customers, ideas. Coming into this community, obviously that requires
a
Rolodex and a network. How have you kind of overcome that in such a short period of time? And what have you seen on the other side? Like, what have you seen in the community that has kind of made this transition for you, where you transition into this job and, quickly fulfilling the requirements of it? How has the community maybe helped you in order to do that?
That's like a SWOT analysis.
Yeah, exactly.
My SWOT analysis. So I've been in South Carolina now 22, almost 23 years, and most of that time spent either in Columbia in my role there. I was in television news for 13 years at WIS in Columbia, then moved to the Lowcountry. I was at the Chamber of Commerce there in Hilton Head and Bluffton for 8 years, and then moving here. So my Rolodex is across South Carolina, but you're right. This was an area, a pocket of the state that I did not come with a Rolodex or knowing very many people, if just a couple folks at all. I knew Lucas McFadden, dear Lucas. He and I worked together on the morning show for many years, and so I knew Lucas and Katie. But thankfully, my DISC personality profile, my profile is an IS, so I'm a connector by my natural disposition. Also, you tap into, I believe everybody has, and I tell young people this when they're searching for their career avenue or where they want to go in their life for their jobs. I always say, find your core genius. What are you great at? What do people look to you and say, they're the greatest at doing that. And I am a connector. I can, talk to somebody, meet someone. I harken back to my days of waiting tables in high school, of just talking to folks, and learning about them and finding out, how you can fill those gaps in that entrepreneurial situation or that small business situation where they just need information or resources. So I found a really great foundational statewide knowledge and how things are done. I just had to really get spun up pretty quick whenever I got to Rock Hill. My first 90 days on the job, I did nothing but meet people and listen to entrepreneurs and small businesses in the area. I had so many cups of coffee, Joel.
Yeah.
I was running back and forth to the ladies' room like you wouldn't believe. But I had to meet as many people as possible to begin to connect those dots. And when I don't know how to connect the dots, I call people who can, like you or Mike Gettings, for example, people who know everybody. Okay, it's like they have been in this community and they would be able to do that. I will say this though: at the end of the day, if someone is asking you for a resource, all you have to just show them you care and truly care, and that's the talent or the genius or the kindness that I bring to this role that perhaps was why they hired me, is because I might not know everyone here yet. I will. But I will promise you that I'll care, and I will want to see your business grow. I will want to see your business connect, and I will stay up later and work harder, read more, attend more, do anything that I have to help a business or founder succeed. Yeah,
and that passion is really what it takes. And I think, your position is very specific, but in a greater sense, I mean, your task is almost to create an ecosystem in Rock Hill for entrepreneurship. And Rock Hill has always been a community that kind of, punches above its weight, and, the community always kind of somehow fills demand even when, the odds are against them. But you're kind of tasked with creating this ecosystem, not really out of thin air because the culture's there. But it hasn't really matured maybe compared to some other communities. Like people always like to talk about Greenville or, the Research Triangle. Yeah. What are some of those challenges in kind of creating that ecosystem that you see? Like, where are the components that feed together to create and nurture and kind of take it from kindling to a full-blown fire?
So there's a guy named Brad Feld, F-E-L-D, who wrote a book called Startup Communities. And Brad also is the guy who's credited, he's a co-founder of Startup Weekend, Techstars, these really great innovative programs that go into communities and help just bring these ideas to life. Okay, so Brad wrote what was called the Boulder Thesis, and he moved from Boston to Boulder. And this book, by the way, is at the library. Anybody can get it.
What's it called again?
Startup Communities. I didn't tell you the name of the book. I apologize. So Brad Feld is the author, and the name of the book is called Startup Communities. Brad wrote what was called the Boulder Thesis. When he moved from Boston, he began to work amongst other entrepreneurs. He was in tech, other entrepreneurs within Boulder that really had not been built out as a startup community. It really wasn't known for entrepreneurship at the time. So he kind of started to see these pieces come together. Boulder having a really strong academic presence with Colorado State University is there, a couple other universities in and around the area, and in the shadow of Denver. And so pulling from, what was a culture in Denver. Sound familiar, right? When you're in the shadow of a really big city. And so Brad began to connect and put together, and I appreciate you saying, that I'm creating the ecosystem. I'm just collaborating the ecosystem. Truly, like I'm not creating. Like there are really great organizations and people who are already at work. I have been tasked, and I love it. We've got a meeting in June for the very first time where we're going to have this ecosystem builder partner meeting where we're all going to get in the same room together. We're going to start talking about, like what you're doing and what I'm doing, and make sure that we're not in each other's lanes, in not knowing. Perhaps we can collaborate on some issues. One can take a supporting role, one can take a leading role. But Brad Feld said that these players in the ecosystem are it is professor and student innovation. It is your city and county and state governments collaborating, in it to win it with you. It is your entrepreneurs talking and having a place to meet and having third spaces that are important to them besides homework and where do y'all meet? What do you do? And he talked about what was called the entrepreneurial stack, and that you really have to look at all of these folks that are coming to the entrepreneurial game, to the small business game, and how are you servicing, or what programs and services are available really to everyone in that ecosystem. So reading Brad's book, collaborating with other entrepreneurial support organizations, ESOs, which is kind of the affectionate name for what it is that the Gravity Center technically is. It's not an incubator. It's not an accelerator in those iterations, so to speak. Maybe one day we will accelerate or incubate businesses within the Gravity Center. But right now, it really is just connecting all of those pieces. What SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, is doing over at Winthrop, what United Way is doing, what the library is doing, what the Department of Commerce is doing, who's in Bell. Oh my goodness, the work that Bell is doing. How can all of us who are players in the state, in the county, and in Rock Hill play in the sandbox together to better the economic outcomes of this community? What have I seen? I've seen a lot of willing participants that just were not really meshed together. Mm-hmm. I joke that your grandmama's Jell-O salad. That's got to go in the refrigerator for a little while. There's a process that's got to congeal. Mm-hmm. So there's a process to this that just is going to take a little bit of time, a lot of trust, and a lot of transparency. And I'm all about that.
And I imagine it takes a couple wins, right? Like it takes a couple of those companies to move from one phase to another, maybe get some seed capital and get their first customers and start to revenue. What does the Gravity Center do to help engineer those wins for companies coming in?
Well, we love the publicity. Yes, when we get those really big announcements that the big manufacturer, the hundreds of jobs are coming to the area, that is absolutely fantastic. But we cannot forget the role of small business in South Carolina and in York County. We have to remember that the majority of jobs that are created in this state, the overwhelming majority of jobs that are created in this state, are from small businesses. Okay, so that in itself will always be a win. The 2-job, 3-job, 4-job, the small, it's a creep. Small little incremental, moving the needle on those jobs. What we need to start looking at beyond just the number of jobs, we need to start talking about livable wages. We need to talk about, we need to start tracking the payroll for those jobs, because if a company starts and you're looking at folks that are making 40% more than the average median wage in York County, hey, let's consider that a win, even if it's just 3 or 4 people right now. So let's look at that as a metric. So it's not even, I don't want to say creative ways to find your wins, but we can't just continue to always look at sheer numbers of how many business licenses there are, because as you and I both know, one business license could make a tremendous impact in this area because of the work that they're doing. So, trying to, finding again in the stack those entrepreneurs that need help with their idea, getting to the next level. They need to know where you get a business license. They need to know how, what entity is best for them. We've got a class on Tuesday where Todd Green, a CPA, is going to come in and talk about forming your business entities and understanding your financial reports. Basic foundational business knowledge, which will always be free and available to the public at the Gravity Center. Stake my career on it. Okay, we are absolutely open to the public, and we want to make sure, again, foundational business knowledge is there. Besides that, if you need access to develop a prototype, if you need to understand how to connect to be able to protect your intellectual property, you need to begin securing your patents. You need to connect with someone over at Winthrop in data science because you're going to mine data for your customer base. All of these things, that takes it up a little bit more. So see what I'm talking about in the stack? So you've got, a very basic level, perhaps a solopreneur that's just going to work out of their house. You're going to help. You're going to help someone that's kind of getting things going. Then they get things going and suddenly they're in the mood for a little venture capital, a little angel investing happening to them, connecting them with those folks. Suddenly we got a business. We have a funded, revenuing, growing, scaling business here. Okay.
Right.
So we have to tell our story better. We have to find when those businesses come out of the Gravity Center, when they come out of SBDC, when they come out of Bell. We need to tell our stories and how these, the public dollar investment, the private dollar investment, the kindness, the mentorship, the goodwill, the connections that have been made, and how Rock Hill continues to foster that, and how we want to continue to foster it, and really tell their story about how they were able to scale and take it to the next level. And I think that will attract more businesses to this area and more folks that have ideas that know that it really can happen here.
I think you're absolutely right. And I do think, you really touched on it. And this is something that kind of keeps me up at night is, we can't always count on businesses moving into South Carolina, especially into York County, to grow our tax base, to, create jobs and create opportunity. If we're not doing everything we can to foster and create those opportunities to begin here and grow here, we're relying on people coming to us, and our tax code just doesn't produce that incentive to do so. And we kind of have to fall all over ourselves and create incentives to get someone to move into York County. It seems like it would be, I hate to use the word easier, it would be smarter to just grow those businesses within the county. But when you first became aware of this position, and you were living in the Low Country, is that right?
Hilton Head. Hilton
Head. Okay, so you're in Hilton Head, and someone tells you or somehow you find out that there's this position in Rock Hill. And be honest, what were your initial thoughts about, well, is that even possible in Rock Hill? What are they doing up there? What do they have going on? And when you told your friends, hey, I'm going to move to Rock Hill and take this job doing this, did anyone say, what are you thinking?
You're turning the tables on me now.
That's right.
I'm the startup. I'm the venture. Why did you choose Rock Hill? I found out about the job. And I was super excited, to be honest with you, because I had known about the growth happening in Rock Hill, specifically because in the role that I was in policy at the Chamber, one of the big things that we were working on there is, of course, workforce housing. It's everywhere across South. This is an issue everywhere. This is a pain point. And so, especially in a tourism economy, trying to figure out how we house our tourism, our hospitality workers that are the heartbeat backbone of our economy, but yet they're priced out at $550,000, $600,000 median home price. Okay, big problem. Okay, because you're not making that. All right, waiting tables and tending bar. How can we solve this problem? We had heard about what was happening, the exponential growth in Rock Hill and York County, and this thing about impact fees. And it was not a pleasant headline that had made its way through the tendrils of workforce housing discussions. But there was this discussion that that, impact fees could maybe come back to help pay for housing development corporations, and you could maybe somehow bring together your community, and that this could perhaps somehow fund this development, and you could offset impact fees for workforce development. And so that is how initially I heard about the exponential growth that was happening here early on. And so I have personal ties to Charlotte, and my best friend is in Charlotte. I didn't feel like I was moving away from friends that I had in Columbia as well from my time there. I was ready to go, but I'm fearless like that. Having been in television news, you have to move a lot to get to the job you want. So I'm still very much so in career mode, and I saw this as not only the next step for my career, but I saw it as a really beautiful challenge for the state of South Carolina. It was my next step. And I was doing a Bible study on the book of Esther, and the verse about, you very well might have been created just for this. And I came across that, and how, she was an exile from, her land, put somewhere in, a very different environment to do a very great work. And I kind of felt that the Lord was moving me in this direction. So that's a little personal story, but you asked me for a personal connection, like why I did it. And I prayed about it. And honestly, my friends were very excited about it, and they love to come and visit, and we love Legal Remedy and Counter, and I live right in downtown, and I'm having a great time. I love all the festivals, this place and festivals. Oh my goodness. What a great small town, small picture story about not only what has been, where we've been, where we are, but I'm really excited to be a part of it being written into the story of where we're going.
Yeah, and what has surprised you about Rock Hill since you knew about the growth, but you read about it, and it's a little bit different to come and experience it. What have been like the biggest surprises that you've encountered, and you'd say, okay, well, I can use that to help me do this, or this is an asset for this company that's growing over here. What are the biggest gems or whatever you've uncovered where you were just like, I'm very surprised that this is here?
The sense of community is incredible. It truly is. And keep in mind, I'm coming from an area that folks move in from other places. So I love the history, the family history, the connection. When people say, where's the Gravity Center? I can say, it's right beside where the old Winn-Dixie used to be. Now, you and I both, I've been here 8 months, okay? But folks from this area told me that the Winn-Dixie used to be right there in that shopping center where now the Well Church is, which we're right next door to. So folks who have lived here, have planted.
That was a while ago.
That was a while ago, right? The sense of community, the family ties, the strength of the community. This is an area, Joel, and please know that I say this with the utmost respect. If and when anything bad happens, this community is going to be just fine, because it will not turn on itself. It will not. If folks could see it from the newness that I do, to just know that what we have in common is so much stronger and so much more than anything that separates us or that we see different in the either in the mirror or in our past. It is a beautiful community. And when I stand side by side with folks that I don't know that have been in this community, that, we're at parade, the Christmas parade, the Come See Me parade, the St. Patrick's, the Food Truck Fridays, they're not doing this in other areas. And even if they are, nobody's going to it. And this is fantastic.
It is really cool to see when you go to the parade and you see the same families on the same corner year after year, and you watch the kids grow up, and that is an example of the community kind of punching above its weight, and to think that so much of that is privately funded, and all of it really. I'll Come See Me, Christmasville, those are all companies giving back to the community, which is really cool.
I'll tell you a story really fast, dude. Speaking of Christmasville, I walked to work most mornings from where I live in downtown to the Gravity Center, and for Christmasville, there were flower arrangements on the trash cans. Who does that? I took a picture and I sent it to my mom and dad.
Shout out to Brittany Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Brittany. And I sent that to my mom, who is a gardener, and my mom and dad in my rural South Alabama hometown, my mom and dad are like, we want to move there. it goes back. I heard this story one time that whenever the German contingent was touring South Carolina to look to put the BMW plant with former Governor Carroll Campbell, Governor Campbell was sitting with the German contingent at a table, and they literally were scratching out this incentive deal on a bar napkin. Okay, this really is a true story. Okay, sketching out this deal on a napkin, and the German folks said, "We're going to come to South Carolina," and Governor Campbell asked why, and he said, "We can get workers anywhere, but we're going to find craftsmen in South Carolina." Craftsmen are people that care about their work. They take pride in what it is that they do. May we never forget that lesson from 20, 30, 30 years ago now, of that German contingent coming to South Carolina and seeing what we had here that they had nowhere else in America. May we always be the Palmetto State people that are considered craftsmen. And I would love to be considered the craftswoman at the Gravity Center, taking enormous pride and special attention to my work, the same way you do here at your law firm, the way that Mike Gettings will do at Panther Heating and Air, and David Stringer will do at Insignia Group, and Jennifer Wilford McAdams will do at Economic Development. This is what we should be known for in our cities and counties.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I think it's true, and I may be biased, but I think we are kind of known for that.
I hope.
When people from outside the community hear about Rock Hill, I hope that's what it is. And that's really where my questions are getting at. I mean, you mentioned the newness that you're encountering it with, and it's easy to kind of take all of those things for granted. And I hate to say it, but I mean, when you're here and you spend your life here, and you're here for a long time, and you do kind of take those things for granted. You just take for granted that Christmasville is going to happen or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it is different. So, it's pretty cool to hear like somebody new coming into the area and sees that right away. So here's two questions. Okay. How wide of a net is Gravity Center casting to find companies or find entrepreneurs that they can help and maybe relocate into the area? And if you're looking outside of the community, does that quality of life pitch mean something?
So I am not recruiting from a quality of life standpoint. That really goes, I guess it speaks to the economic development works of David Swinson and Jennifer at the city. Those folks pitch not only economic incentives, but quality of place, workforce, the things that are important in an economic development deal. I suspect that if folks cannot make a business happen here, that they would leave and go somewhere else. So I guess I am. I never really thought of it that way, but for the most part, the folks that come to the Gravity Center are local. We have had a couple of asks from outside of the county for example, Chester or Clover. Could there be some way that we could bring those services into counties that don't have an entrepreneurial support organization? How could we make that work? So that's another story. But within our venture mentoring service, one of the things that the resources are to be used, you have to have some kind of connection to Rock Hill or York County. Is there a job here? Are you going to locate here? Are you going to open up a brick and mortar here eventually? So in order for me to provide resources to that business, that company, that venture, that founder, that entrepreneur, that small business owner, there's a bunch of different ways things to call them. I really need to see that there's going to be some kind of, for us to use local investment, we want to see that there's going to be some kind of local investment. If not, I will connect them to the entrepreneurial support organization in their area, because they really want to check that box in their area. Like they want to know what kinds of jobs are going to be created. So this lovely woman from Bishopville, for example, over is that Darlington or Lee County, called and said, we love what you guys are doing there. We really want to participate in this. And it's just like, there's just no real connection here, but I can connect you with someone within our network of support organizations, because they're going to want to work with you, and you're going to want to dip into their programs and meet colleagues and other entrepreneurs within your community. Do community with them. Yeah. I will say that the pieces of the ecosystem that still need to be built out in order for this to work is we really would love to see more student innovation within K-12 and Winthrop and Clinton College and York Tech. How can we at no fault of their own. If it hasn't been a priority or a focus, we'd love to help nurture that culture for our young people to begin to, instead of saying, what do you want to be when you grow up, start asking them, what business do you want to own when you grow up?
Yeah.
What do you want to invent? What
and why wait?
What's your idea?
Yeah.
Exactly. So we actually have a camp at the Gravity Center this July, for students for entrepreneurship. It's a 1 week business challenge.
Is this for high school students?
It's for 13 to 18-year-olds.
Okay.
So I guess there may be a couple middle schoolers that, but it's going to be
phenomenal.
It's for 15 young people. The applications on that go live here on Monday. What's that? May 16th.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get that application out. They'll be due on June 3rd. So if you know any young people that would like to be in part of it will be a competitive application process, just because we really can only handle about 15 at a time.
Yeah.
Because we're starting a business, so it's not a class. You're not sitting there, thinking.
This isn't abstract.
Theory.
You're gonna do it.
No, you're going to do it. You're going to do it.
Wow.
And you're going to sell a product. You're going to make a product, sell a product, hopefully make a profit, and we'll spend it or return it back to our stakeholders, our investors.
So if you're not a student going to this camp, but if an entrepreneur saying, okay, and you said it's everywhere from, you've got an idea that just came to you this morning, or you're kind of farther along. Excuse me. How does an entrepreneur engage with the Gravity Center? And then once they do, what do they find? What, you walk in the door, you send you an email, what does that engagement look like?
So the first thing to do, I'd say sign up for our email newsletter. I send one a week, usually on a Sunday afternoon. You'll understand, I'd send one for the month, but you'll get on Sunday afternoon what's ahead and the whole week ahead. So it is everything from basic business education for those who are in ideation stage. You have an idea for a business. For example, my mom makes amazing rum cakes. Mm-hmm. My mom has always wanted to sell her rum cakes. So what would my mom need to do to get a business license? How would we help her understand cost accounting so that she's not selling it for $20 but making it for $25 and losing $5 a cake? How would she market those? How does she pay taxes on the revenues, making sure she's set up, with accounting. If somebody wanted to order one online or set up a CRM, all of these, again, just ideation, basic business education. So we do a business model canvas, which is a one-pager. We do a start your business class once a month, and that's how to do business in the city of Rock Hill. Are you thinking brick and mortar? What resources are available to you? Where do you get your business license? How do you set up your entity? What resources do you need in the way of an accountant, an attorney, all of the things that you may need to set up and begin to start revenuing or scaling. We also do a business plan workshop. So if you haven't put a pen to paper for a business plan, you're going after perhaps investment from a bank or investors, and you need to practice your business plan or develop a pitch deck. We'll help you with that as well. So there are foundational courses. Then we level up on some thought leadership. This month, for example, we had an intellectual property class earlier this week. We have one on financial management coming up on this Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So there's always peppered in there some leveling up, really some professional business advisors, experts, subject matter experts coming in. Again, all of these are free, open to the public. Okay, you literally register, sign up just to make sure that I've got seats for you in the classroom and that I've got classroom materials printed out for you. If you need to connect with someone, hey, I have an idea for an app. Is this crazy? Can I sit down? We have what are called LEAP hours, Local Entrepreneur Access Program. I'll connect you with a local entrepreneur in our community. Specifically, I'll start with our board, our 10-member board of the Gravity Center, who are all entrepreneurs, and get you free one-on-one mentoring to just see if that works for you. I want to open a plumbing company. I want to open an HVAC. I'm thinking about a skills or service base. Whatever it is, I'll make sure that you get to where it is that get that resource, that one-on-one, or maybe VMS is for you, the venture mentoring service, which is we've got 13 ventures in right now and 29 mentors that are working one-on-one and team-based to make sure that these ventures get the resources and level up to whatever needs that they have. You just have to sign up for it.
Yeah.
We have subscriptions into the Gravity Center for $79 a month for co-working space. So you can just come in and open up your laptop and have Wi-Fi and conference room, video conferencing room, classroom, coffee, hang out there, have your meetings there, rent an office inside the Gravity Center if you want to. Just attend events, just plug in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does the funding for all this come from?
So I am a City of Rock Hill employee. So my salary and benefits come from the City of Rock Hill. Thank you, City of Rock Hill. And so I am a part of the economic development team at the city. And I'm so thankful for their investment into the Gravity Center to see the potential that it has and to bring me on board to be able to shepherd all of the programs and services that are there. The Gravity Center was set up by 10 investors that put their cold hard cash, time and energy and thought leadership into starting and retrofitting the space for and believing that this was something that Rock Hill needed. The tech incubator had gone away, had been dissolved, and the VMS program was kind of out there for somebody to take over what was going to happen with it. But for the most part, just through COVID and a series of retirements, it was just ripe for them to start this for the reason that they are entrepreneurs and said, there's really nothing for us. It's a lonely world. Where do we go when we have a question about growing our business? Who do you call? I mean, I'm sure you've got attorney friends or people who have been in practice. And what did you do about this? And I mean, remember hiring your first person?
I honestly can't imagine being a solo anything and just completely feeling your way in the dark without any guidance.
You ever had any labor issues? You ever wondered about, when someone needs to take family medical leave? You're in the position, smarter than the average bear, you're in these type of legal issue, but there may be an HR issue or a financial management issue that, your expertise is in the law. This whole business thing that you have to run in addition to what it is you're passionate about, it's like my mom just wants to make rum cakes. She doesn't want to think about financials and all of that other stuff.
Yeah.
So really helping them wrap their brain around truly being in business and what that means with all of its rights and responsibilities is it's a blessing, but it's going to be hard.
Well, and that's partly where the VMS system comes in. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how who the mentors are, where their expertise or training comes from, what that program actually looks like practically?
The Venture Mentoring Service, VMS, is funded through the Rock Hill Economic Development Corporation, so RHEDC. Mm-hmm. And so the license belongs to RHEDC, and so we run it in the Gravity Center. I oversee it in the Gravity Center. We have 13 ventures and, like I said, 29 mentors. The ventures are everything from hospitality, food and beverage, all the way up to a technology company. So they're listed on our website, rockhillvms.com, so you can see what businesses are in there. It's no secret. There's no secrecy as to what businesses are in there. But they're running on starting businesses, and they need mentors around them. So a venture will call and say, I would like to start, I'm making this up, a salon for children in downtown Rock Hill. This is my dream. And so I will say, well, what is it that you need to do this? Like, what do you know and what don't you know right now? Of course, they don't know what they don't know. It's like, well, do you know how to cut hair, first of all? Okay, so or do you have a skills base to be able to do this work, provide this service and product? Yes, they're licensed already. Good. Okay, so they're going to need a brick and mortar. They're going to need a business license. That's in one side. But on the mentoring side, it's like, I guess I'm going to have to. Are you going to hire anybody? So you may need somebody who has like some HR experience. You may need someone who's going to help maybe with marketing, someone who's going to kind of on your team, and perhaps we put someone financials, a CPA, someone who kind of has experience in the numbers to help you. So we'll put a team of at least 3 mentors, and these folks who are our mentors, they are the backbone truly of the program, because without them and their expertise, we're only as good as our mentors are, and their willingness to be able to provide guidance and help these businesses navigate whatever their next steps are and get them to their next milestone. And so they would perhaps, and they would meet with them either virtually or in person as often as the venture decided they wanted to meet and work on whatever it is at that venture. Now, these mentors do not go to work with them. Okay, they do not, do their financials with them, but they will look at a cash flow statement, for example. They will look at a lease, or they will look at a contract, or we'll call in a specialty one-time mentor that says, Susie really needs help with her employment contracts and needs somebody to kind of look over this, or doesn't really understand commercial real estate and how this deal is shaken down. Is it fair for her? So the mentors around them are going to be with them through as they grow and scale and start, depending on where they are. And we just continue to we'll redo their mentor team from time to time if they've exhausted what expertise is on their team and they need somebody else, either just for a second on their, they just need to meet one-on-one, or we dissolve the whole team and maybe put them with another one.
Are there any individual, I hate to put you on the spot because I know it's like picking your favorite child. Are there any individual companies or ideas that you're like particularly excited about over the next several years to kind of see where they go? And you can speak generally, of course, but I'm just curious if there's like what don't we know about that's like percolating inside the Gravity Center that could, potentially be transformative for the area? So
we really need to keep our eye on Ryan Sanderson, okay, and what he's going to do with Knowledge Perk, because it's not just the coffee shop, okay, the what we know as Knowledge Perk. Ryan has an incredible mind and propensity for innovation, and Ryan is going to go do great things even beyond Knowledge Perk, because I love me some Knowledge Perk.
That's good coffee.
It's good coffee. So watch what Ryan does within Knowledge Perk, and I don't know, maybe it'll be the next Starbucks. I don't know, but just watch what he does. Watch what Jonathan and Crystal Nazir do with Victory Gardens, the gardening, hydroponic gardening, and the work that he's doing down in areas of Rock Hill, especially. He just announced the collaboration on the south side, I believe at Emmett Scott, where he's doing a lot of gardening, teaching, gardening, selling, what he's growing. Jonathan and Crystal are innovative and cool, and they love this area, and they're not just going to grow food, they're going to grow a business that we really need to keep our eye on. They've already received some State Department of Agriculture grants for innovation. We just watch for them to do even more. I am really excited about what's happening with the power plant development, and watching what Tara Sherbert and her development team are going to do with that, and the businesses that will fill out the power plant. There's going to be several restaurant bays there for there to be a food court. We're talking to her about putting kind of a maker's kiosk there for an entrepreneur to be able to, that makes a product, to be able to sell there in the power plant. As folks are coming in and out, that's going to be an incredible addition to Knowledge Park and to downtown, Old Town Rock Hill. Inside of the Gravity Center, on any given day, I'm just amazed at the tenacity, the drive, and the just go get 'em attitude that these ventures have.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing to see, and it's almost like theater, because now they're all kind of assembling together, and these things used to happen, maybe not at scale, but they were sort of spread out throughout the community, and you didn't really have a lens into it on a daily basis. Right. And to see everybody kind of assembling, whether it's getting coffee at Knowledge Park in the morning, or Gravity Center during the work day, or whatever, or Knowledge Park, it's almost like watching like this story unfold, which is really cool to see. And you mentioned the power plant. When I was at Winthrop, that was like a haunted ghost town, and to see it now kind of
not anymore.
Growing and becoming such a cool place is awesome to see. I'm going to put you on the spot, maybe one more time, maybe more, but so you mentioned like student innovation at Winthrop, and Clinton and York Tech. If you had to create like a wish list, like a short wish list of what are 2 or 3 things, programs, whatever the case may be, that some of our institutions of higher learning locally could do to contribute towards this ecosystem of entrepreneurship, what would that short list look like?
We need to get back to having student innovation challenges. We really do. That is something that we can promote and celebrate, and watch the good work come out of it. Truly. It's one thing for a student to have an idea and just kind of be working on it in his or her dorm room or in their apartment and just kind of be an idea. But if you spark and give them resources and put a weekend together or a challenge together where they can get that out and publicize it, who knows who could pick it up? SCRA may find this, little nugget and just be like, yes, sir. Like that's where, we want to go in that direction. Mm-hmm. So innovation challenges are really important for us to have with our young people and put them on stage to chase success for their idea. I believe that we need to think about entrepreneurship across disciplines. Our music majors, our education majors, our computer science majors, our mass comm majors need to realize, as well as skills-based that are at applied tech, that are in our high schools, that plumbing and HVAC and, drone, CAD, cosmetology, how that these services, how to build a business model around what it is that you want to do, that you don't always just have to go find a job or work for someone else, that you can innovate within your space. You have great ideas. What would you like to do with that? Maybe go work for someone for a couple of years, learn your craft, your trade, get your licensing, get your experience, but always have it in the back of your mind about what it is that you're going to do next. Mm-hmm. I believe that we also need to we have to face the funding challenge head on. Small business and entrepreneurial funding and access to capital is a real issue. And I'm not talking about just for the really big tech projects, okay, that need, hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's a study out from SBA Office of Advocacy that most businesses in America last year started with fewer than $5,000. Mm-hmm. They're bootstrapping.
Yeah.
And they're bootstrapping with their personal credit cards, with a second mortgage. They're bootstrapping with friends, family, and fools money. We need to make sure that, and listen, I do not believe that it is the government's role to give money to start and scale businesses. But I do believe that there is a place for government to incentivize investment and to provide services and programs that help contribute to a local economy, and that government can help be involved, much like the city of Rock Hill is, to help in providing the resources when they can see KPIs being met that are starting and scaling businesses. But when a man or woman comes to the Gravity Center and says, I want to start a business, but I can't do it because I need money, and yet they haven't studied their market, they haven't put a business plan together, they just have an idea, we kind of have to back them up and say, do you even know how much money you need? Do you have a minimal viable product? Like, what would you spend that money on? And so getting them to the point to where they can really make a legitimate ask about what it is they would spend that money on. I need $5,000 to blank, fill in the blank, whatever that is. And then if there are grants available, or if there are funding mechanisms that reinvest, or venture capital funds, or pitch competitions that can make sure that what is done with the money that they've asked for has been done, then let's look at a model similar to that. But there are no business handouts. There are no there is no just going to the bank and getting several $1,000s just to start your business. It doesn't work that way. And folks who are starting businesses think that you start a business like you buy a house or you buy a car. There's no collateral on your business. If you're trying to, if you need computer networks and you need equipment or something, the banks will loan you money on that, but they're not going to pay your salary. You can't put that in your business plan to them. They're not going to do that. Getting started, your down payment on, your brick and mortar, you can't. They're not going to do that. They can't get that back. And so, the ways that businesses are funded these days is extremely dangerous to our startup and early ventures. And it breaks my heart that if they fail, they're not just going to fail in their business, they're going to fail in their families. They're going to fail in their marriages. They're going to fail in their communities. They're going to lose cars and homes and credit that they need for their next venture because they need to get back in the game. They need to keep moving. So how do we find access to capital? how do we help them know how much they truly need and get them to that number, either through a freedom fund that they set up themselves so that they begin saving for starting a business, like you save to buy a house, or, and to be able to leave your job. Do you start side hustles and do that until you have enough customers to be able to break away from your full-time job and move into it? These are all very real questions for entrepreneurs, and it's a scary world.
So you mentioned all like the potential failures and the real consequences here. Like, you quit your job to do something and, the consequences to your family. So obviously it takes like, a special kind of person who's okay and can stomach like that great degree of risk. Mm-hmm. Is there a critical mass of those people you think locally to, create the foundation of that ecosystem?
I don't know.
That's what we have to find out, right?
Yeah. We have to find out. And we have to find out truly from the entrepreneurs, through their collaboration, from them coming to the Gravity Center and SBDC, finding out really what that number is, what, who needs us most and what do they need? I throw spaghetti at the wall all day long for what our entrepreneurs and our small businesses need in this area. And I hope that, one of the main things that comes out of this podcast is that more people know about the services inside the Gravity Center, but more people will just reach out and say, I'm a small business owner. I don't really need the Gravity Center, but here's what I see, or here's what I feel, or, and maybe I've been controversial in some of the things I've said, and they disagree and can challenge me and help me see a new way. I would, love that too. How do I continue to see right at 150 entrepreneurs a month in the Gravity Center and continue to meet their needs when it comes down to foundational business education and access to capital?
Mm-hmm. And those are the two biggest things.
Those are the two biggest things that I am able to help them navigate at the moment. And eventually, I believe that as we find more pockets of sector growth, retail, tech, maybe biomed in this area, their needs may become different, and then I will begin to also chase after what their resource needs are as well. So do we need more laboratory space in Rock Hill? Think about that. Yeah, so I'd think about what would happen if the next, really big biomed company, there's an idea that comes out of the chemistry department at Winthrop, and suddenly that professor is... This is fun.
It's funny you mentioned that because we had a podcast with those people not long ago that were producing just some incredible research at Winthrop that I was just mind blown. And I had no idea that this was happening right here in our backyard. So
data sciences, computer sciences. I mean, they have ideas. And that's, if 95% of the people in this country have an idea for a business and only 5% start them, Let's.
How do you fill that gap?
Yeah, let's get to them, because we don't have a culture of entrepreneurship really in America. I think we're getting there. It's honestly, the numbers are better since COVID. More folks really, truly are. I guess it was this recklessness or abandonment of COVID. It's just like, well, everything's gone to pot now.
Might as well try.
It's in the pandemic. We might as well just, try something new. Mm-hmm. And, so moms finally said, you know what? I'm leaving the workforce. I'm not doing this anymore. And dad said, you know what? You stay at home. And, and we've had this mind shift that we can do hard things. And that's one of them. And so starting businesses, when I had, the intellectual property class, had 8 women in it. And I'm like, you go, girls. I love this. The room is full of female founders.
That's awesome.
In an intellectual property class.
And so you mentioned fintech or, all these different potential spaces. Are there sectors of the economy, spaces in business where you think, maybe our geography, maybe our human capital, maybe our institutions might lend us a competitive advantage that, maybe we should focus efforts on? Or is it come one, come all?
Well, let's leverage our strengths in this area. Okay. So let's look at what those are. All right. So let's look at that river. And let's think about the folks, the place making, the quality of life, that living somewhere so beautiful and near the river, and the opportunities to be, again, in just a beautiful environment, okay, walkable trails and mountain biking. People love that, okay? People want to live where they can play. Especially with more working from home. Quality of place is going to be huge. With that comes more shopping, retail, having access to wine markets, meat markets. I think Fort Mill is really doing a great job of that right now. We need to look to our partner to the north and ask and look to see kind of how livable that. I took some friends from Charlotte to Kingsley, and they were just absolutely blown away.
It's the second most visited place in York County.
Is it
Only
really?
Carowinds is ahead of Kingsley.
It's one of those things where, look at what our strengths are and why people would want to come here, live here, work here. And so as organically, some of this stuff some of these sectors are going to pop up. So when 240 apartments come online in the next 6 months in Old Town Rock Hill with the Exchange opening, you're going to find a culture wanting a really nice fresh meats and wine shop. You're going to want flowers. You're going to want salon, med spa, perhaps. I mean, these are folks that make. Have you seen the prices? I mean, I'm not saying anything's bad about it. I'm just saying you're going to have an income level that supports living in an apartment that is at that cost, and so you're going to have money to spend in the downtown Old Town area. So restaurants perhaps will pop up as a result of now there being a greater market in that area. An additional brewery, just seeing things come about because there's market. More than access to capital, there's a market, because there's your capital. Those are people with wallets and credit cards, like they'll buy your product. So let's look organically at that. Then let's think about working along with the economic development entities in York County and with the city of Rock Hill to see where are they timing out in Charlotte, where what is happening in Matthews and Cornelius and Gastonia, moving into that, and let's think about maybe bringing them south. And I say that because there was an article that I read or in social media where two businesses were leaving Charlotte because of the rise in prices of rent, like a 40% increase on their space, and they can't stay there. And they're like, we've had a great run, we've loved owning this business, but we just cannot continue to stay here. And it's like, I wanted so bad just to we come to Rock Hill. We'd love to have you in Rock Hill, and we would truly. So again, looking at where we could have, energy consumption is big in economic development. Are we competitive on our energy prices? Do we have the workforce? Do we have housing that can support their employees? Will those employees like living and working here because they have, great schools, shops to shop in, trails to ride on? It truly is. Economic development is a zipper, not a snap.
Yeah.
It's a zipper, not a snap. We have to think of all of these things working together in order to recruit and bring these companies, existing companies, and then again, just begin to try and get those ideas out of people's heads and onto paper and into business plans and into market and commercialized.
I could literally ask you questions all day. I know I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. The last time, and this is a good way though.
Okay.
So if you're a member of this community,
yes, and
you care about outcomes and you care about, the future of economic development and opportunities in this area, and you know that the Gravity Center exists, how do you support it? What do you do? What can you offer to help these companies, to help the Gravity Center, to help the institutions, to help economic development? What do you do?
Look us up on social media is the easiest thing. I'm going to go from easy to hard. Mm-hmm. The easiest thing you can do is look us up on social media, share, like our posts, make sure that your friends can see when there are classes that are being offered, because you never know when your next door neighbor, that is the retired doctor, has this great idea for a medical device and he just didn't know who to go to. So just share, like, and subscribe and just be a part of our conversation. The second thing is you yourself attend something. Come and talk to entrepreneurs and and support small businesses. Make sure that when you have the choice to shop from the big retail or a small business, try the small business. Do as much as you can to support them. The third thing I would say is support the Gravity Center, either by subscribing to our monthly subscription, or we have just a $99, I support the Gravity Center. It's a year and you get a long list of benefits, even just for the $99 a year. And it goes directly back into our programming. It doesn't pay the lights or anything. It just simply goes into me being able to get service provider programs in here so that I don't have to charge our entrepreneurs or small business owners anything for a class that they would want to take. And again, just continue to attend events, support your community, and support small businesses that want to grow and thrive here.
Well, like I said, I could literally ask you questions all day because this
Economic
is a
development
fascinating
is
topic.
fun. It's fun. And on the most basic, gritty level, homegrown economic for small business and entrepreneurship is so fun. It's the Wild West. I love our small business.
Did you know you were going to love it this much?
I came with an open mind and heart. I knew if I was led here, I felt so incredibly led here by the Lord. I'm just, I'm not a preacher or anything like that. I run a center. I just knew that if I was led here, if I was guided here, that it would work. It would succeed. That I was. There's a verse in Psalms where the psalmist said, the boundaries for me have fallen in pleasant places. And they fell for me in pleasant places for Hilton Head. They're falling pleasant for me in Rock Hill. Again, I'm so thankful for my board, the city of Rock Hill, for this incredible job. And then partners like you guys who are willing to help tell our story and to get the word out to as many small businesses and entrepreneurs, because they really are like my children in many ways. I love them all and want to see them all succeed desperately.
Well, thank you for your passion.
Thank
you for your time, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Yep.